Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 3 at the Back. What is going on in your world? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for all of your interaction and engagement on all of the 3 at the Back episodes. I believe we're on episode 11 now, or 12. Who knows? Let us know in the comments, because we don't know. And it's been a big weekend in the Premier League. We've got a lot to talk about. On my left, I am joined by Benjamin Bloom. And on my right, I'm joined by Matt SB, gamer tag only. Matt, how you doing, mate? All good?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. 3 at the Back is back, otherwise known as Harry Potter, Snape and Neville Longbottom. Loved that comment last week. Yeah, I wonder, is
72 likes on that comment, Matt.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Who's counting, Akon?
Not
I do wonder if the tide might be turning down at the bottom, especially with some big games coming this week that I'm sure we're going to get into.
100%. Yeah. Ben, all good this week, mate? Anything been going on in your world? What's happening?
Well, there's an argument that Neville, Snape, and Harry are all the hero because, like, Neville's the one that actually, spoiler alert, at the end of it, and we all know the sacrifice that Snape makes, but I suppose Harry's the GOAT really as well. But
do you not know? Harry's overrated, isn't he?
I'll take Rickman though, Connor. What a legend that bloke was.
Yeah, I don't know if am I the odd one out, but I've actually only seen one film when it comes to Harry Potter. So there you go. I've never seen.
What
never
are you
seen
doing? Right, that's your homework over Christmas, and you just watch all 8 over the space of 2 days. You're gonna bloody love it.
Fair enough. There we go. Never mind, just prepping and do some show notes. Just watch all of Harry Potter.
Have a day off, mate.
Have a day off. Okay, Matt SB. Where on earth should we start, mate? Where do you reckon? Where are we starting? Where's our first stop?
Down at the bottom. It has
Job
to be.
centre.
Yeah, Wolves bottom, doomed, winless Wolves, and a change in management, obviously with Vitor Pereira going out. I haven't looked, guys. I don't know if you have at the latest odds.
I know what you're talking, Matt.
Gary O'Neill was linked.
I think as
sure
well.
If he's going to go.
I think as well. Handsome Rob was linked as well, wasn't he? Which will be, a slight problem.
Can I just chime in quickly before you continue, Matt? I watched the Middlesbrough presser yesterday with Handsome Rob, and he did a very professional job of pouring water on it without really saying anything. So I'm not seeing it.
It's kind of problematic, really, isn't it? With where they're looking. Obviously, Gary O'Neill's taken his name out, which I think, I don't know about you, Matt, but I felt that was probably the right move for his career. And I feel, getting him back. Look, I know he did a brilliant job, didn't he, when it came to Carragher was mentioning it the other night when it came to him getting Bournemouth out of the proverbial, kept them up, didn't he? But I don't know. I just don't know if it was the right fit. But this is where the problem starts, isn't it? It's who is the right fit now.
Do you want the betting, Con?
Say again, mate.
Do you want the betting? So,
yeah, go on. Let's go.
Brendan Rodgers, this is the top 5. Basically, they haven't got a clue. Brendan Rodgers, Rui Borges, you might be able to help me with that one, Connor. Robbie Keane, who I think has applied from what I understand. Eric Ten Hag, imagine that. And Rob Edwards is favourite, but I'm still not having it.
It's very different playing styles again, isn't it? And I can't imagine.
They don't know, do they?
Is Eric Ten Hag really going to take over at Wolves when they've got 2 points after 10 games? I mean, it's even when you look at Rob Edwards, and look, it might not happen for Borough, but we're not going to go to championship here. But second in the division now, do you trade that in for Wolves? Wolves are going to go down, I think now. 2 points after 10 games. That they've got to be looking at next season in the championship now, for me anyway. So yeah, you've kind of got to have that in your mindset. I guess maybe there's a little bit more financial sort of wiggle room to work when you're Wolves as opposed to Middlesbrough. But Ben, it feels like a bit of a poison chalice at the minute, doesn't it? Wolverhampton Wanderers job.
Well, don't forget as well, on Rob Edwards, he's just been sacked by a team that's been relegated to League One. So I would be pretty suspiciously looking at someone who very quickly then jumped to a Premier League job after being given a great opportunity by Middlesbrough. Do you guys accept the premise that if Norwich go as well, and I know Norwich are essentially an entire division below where Wolves are, I think similar people are going to be linked with Southampton, Norwich, and Wolves, aren't they? Do you agree with that, or do you think Wolves will get an entire, maybe some of the European guys, but they're not bad jobs. Southampton and Norwich might come up as well, and it's no coincidence the Wolves job going and then Southampton pulling the trigger as well. They've got to be searching for similar people, haven't they?
Yeah, my issue with Edwards, if he was to jump, is I feel like he's got to build something again before he gets a taste of Premier League football. And he's got a good thing going at Middlesbrough. It kind of reminds me, Ben, like last season we saw in the Championship when Matt Bloomfield came up from Wycombe to go to Luton. Yep. And they still went down. Wycombe could have then gone up as well. So, they could have crossed paths, and then look where Matt Bloomfield is now. Obviously, struggled with Luton in League One as well. So I think Wolves need to get a manager with a bit of grit. I think they lack characters in that camp. We've spoken about the players they've lost.
You think they need a bit of a disciplinarian, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. Someone who's just going to, no nonsense. They've just got to try and get points on the board. Just got to be really hard to beat. And the problem is I just don't see the characters in the team. And I know we've spoken about the players that went out the door in the window, but I just don't see that same level of fight there that you do with Leeds and Burnley, where you just see them chipping away at points at the minute. And I don't like it for Wolves. I know they turned it around last season and there's a long way to go, but it's tricky, isn't it? You look at the managers Ben mentioned there.
What about Brendan Rodgers? Did you not think that's one where he's just out of a job and he'd love to be back in the Premier League? And is he going to get anything higher up?
Yeah. And I guess that would be, obviously, last time he was here, he was in with Leicester, wasn't he? I think we won the FA Cup, didn't he, Brendan Rodgers with Leicester? So he's got a half decent pedigree. Obviously, he's managed Liverpool before as well, to a very successful standard relative to where they were at that point. Yeah, and he's probably the most likely name, Ben. He's probably the one who I could maybe look at and think, that is maybe one of which you can see a little bit of an upside towards. Robbie Keane's a massive risk. Rob Edwards is a big risk. Carrick is another one that's been bandied around. But like Ben's quite rightly said, Southampton, Carrick, Rob Edwards.
That makes some sense,
Southampton.
Yeah.
Carrick, I think, works perfectly for Southampton. So it's kind of all muddled in the same conversation, isn't it? It's baffling. I mean, I did say last week, I was like, they've got to get rid of Vitor Pereira, but even I will admit, I wasn't thinking this far ahead in terms of who the next man was for Wolves, really. But you almost think, don't you, that a club has got to be preparing for that, Matt. A club has got to be preparing for that situation. It feels like they've kind of landed and gone, oh shit, what now?
Well, you look at West Ham, they saw Nuno was available and they went straight after Nuno. And I know it's unlikely to have thought Nuno would go back to Wolves, but a Nuno or a Sean Dyche is the kind of manager I think Wolves need right now, someone who's experienced in a relegation battle to pull them away and just find a way of getting results. So that's the issue for Wolves right now. There's no standout candidate, and that makes things even more uncertain.
Well, I guess as well, when you look at Rodgers as well, I'm pretty sure he got relegated with Leicester, didn't he, last time out, which is not going to look great.
It wasn't him. It got passed to Dean Smith, I think. But
was it?
I think there was an argument that he was there too long. Sorry, Robbie Keane has managed in Israel and is currently managing in Hungary. That wasn't on my radar or my bingo card. If Robbie Keane was an unknown Hungarian manager, we wouldn't question that link. Maybe he's the best qualified. He started at Wolves as well. He's a hell of a striker there, wasn't he? Before went off to your lot, didn't he, Matt, for loads of money? I don't know, but does that make more sense, Connor?
Yeah. I mean, ideally, reputation-wise, it'd be Eric Ten Hag, wouldn't it? But I can't. I mean, the latest reports are saying that apparently he's had tentative contact, and he's reluctant to be considered given Wolves' predicament. That's the problem. I think ultimately that's the problem. It's you look at Wolves now and you think it's a big job. It's a really big job.
Can I ask another question, guys? Is there an argument that this team will just go down no matter what? Because I really don't see leaders in the team. I know there's Premier League experience and quality in there, but it feels to me that every time I watch them, all hope is being pinned on Strand Larsen to get a goal, and that's about it. That's about as far as it goes. I think they're really bad defensively, and
we're only 10 games in though, Matt.
And they've got to have some sort of bounce, haven't they? At some stage, you've got to think to yourself, they've got to make some sort of impact on the club. They've got to bring someone in who gives them some hope. They go into January, they invest in that person. Wolves fans have to have some sort of hope that they can get out of it. So yeah, it is I think it is a big appointment, but I do take the point. I know what you're saying, Ben. I'd like to see the statistics of a team 2 points after 10 games and how they finish at the end of the season. It is surely it's never been done before.
Your friend and Matt's Steve Bruce, I heard on a clip yesterday, quoting our kind of 10 wins And he said it very eloquently. Well, minus 10 games off that total. They've got to get 10 wins in, what have they got left? 28 games. So, and as we're going to come on to when we talk about Burnley and Leeds and Sunderland, there's not 3 lame ducks like there were last year for Wolves to shoot at, is there? Where you think, oh, maybe you get away with 8 wins and 32 points, or God, even fewer, Matt.
The thing is, as well, with the fixtures, though, Ben, at this point now, they've already ticked off a game against Leeds, a game against Burnley, and a game against Sunderland. So they've got Chelsea, Palace, and Villa coming, and they now have to perform like a team that's going to finish 10th just to survive. So it's very difficult to see.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Yeah, very difficult indeed. Moving on to another. Just before we end that, lads, did you think sacking Vitor Pereira was the right move for Wolverhampton Wanderers, or would you have stuck?
It's so hard to say until you know who they're replacing with, isn't it? Because, like Matt just said, there's almost an argument to stick a caretaker in for those next 3 games and wait for an easier run. Because if someone comes in, like you're saying, Connor, and can't get it moving immediately, then it is almost what's the point? And then you're adjusting your thinking. Not that any club would ever publicly admit it. You're starting to think, who can score 90 points in the Championship next season, rather than who can keep us in the Premier League. But you have to do something, Connor, don't you? It's 0 wins from 10, so you can't really argue with the decision, can you?
Mick McCarthy's out of work. Who knows? There you go, caretaker boss. Big Mick coming.
Mick and Tony, like a two-hander. Yeah.
Mick and Tony.
To be fair, they're great on that podcast. Really.
Yeah, they are. Don't take them away. Right, moving on to West Ham United. Go on, you Irons! An unbelievable win on Sunday. Very unpredicted from just the general media and everything I was reading just days beforehand. I had it down as a West Ham 0, Newcastle 4 as my prediction. So I couldn't
with your Leeds hat firmly on your head there, Connor. Yeah.
Do you know what I just thought? I thought to myself, with that midfield, Carragher highlighted it perfectly after the Brentford game when they played, and Brentford just played through that midfield. They then played Leeds United, and Brendan Aronson looked like Kaka through the middle. It was just so unathletic. It was so uninspiring. And then Nuno made the changes, brought Potts in, the young lad, and then he brought in Matheus Fernandes with Paqueta, and it was almost like a midfield 3. And
by the way, Connor, quickly, that Newcastle midfield, oh my God, I watched them last season. They were incredible. So they had to do something.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, you look at Joe Linton in there, you look at Bruno, you look at Tonali, and it looked like, from once again, from an optics perspective, Newcastle were just going to run all over them, and it didn't happen. West Ham were brilliant. They hit the post a couple of times as well. Matt, I don't know, you saw the Nuno embrace of his coaching staff, giving it the vamos, and you think to yourself, is that the sort of jolt that West Ham needed this season? It's a massive win, isn't it?
Yeah, and their best performance of the season by far. And it's good to see the London Stadium actually bouncing. Like, there's actually fans in there and they were enjoying themselves. So you're right, they hit the post twice. They had a goal disallowed. They had a penalty ruled out. That's what it was. They took the game to them. And I thought the thing is with Nuno, I thought that they'd try and be hard to beat. But I think he's playing to the strengths of this West Ham team, that they're very good going forward. So I still think they're going to concede goals, but they absolutely blew Newcastle away going in the other direction. Bowen didn't even score, but he had a great game, of course. Souček there, and we've said Paqueta, and there's just so many options there, and Wilson and Fulkrug as well. So very encouraging performance ahead of another massive game coming this weekend. And it was the perfect reaction after the Leeds defeat as well. So it's just so crazy, isn't it? Because one week we're thinking, oh, West Ham, terrible defeat to Leeds. And then all of a sudden, oh, they're coming back for Leeds. So I suppose it's just going to change every week here, and just got to kind of be grounded. But on this occasion, very good from West Ham. But you feel like they've got to follow it up against Burnley with another one.
Well, it felt like bringing Souček out and Irving in the midfield with Fernandes and Potts, the young lad who they're already calling the next Declan Rice, coming through the ranks. And I thought he was brilliant. Massive win that, wasn't it, Ben? And as Matt's quite rightly said, fully deserved.
And with my EFL Championship hat on, didn't do Potts any harm a season with John Mousinho and John Harley at Pompey last season. I think as well, we've spoken about half times, and we will do again when we talk about the promoted 3, and we've spoken about getting 2 goals up and, games disappearing. And I think it says a lot for West Ham that, they went behind in this game and they didn't crumble, especially in the home stadium. So, yeah.
And Ben, just to comment as well, it was horrendous and just absolutely symptomatic of the Premier League and the teams at the bottom. West Ham went to one end, smacked the post with Jarrod Bowen. Newcastle went to the other end and scored instantaneously through Murphy. And you're thinking that's the Premier League, but they did recover really well.
Yeah, absolutely, sort of classic in that regard. And yeah, I think it's going to be my new theme. The get to half time and don't go 2 goals down. I know maybe Leeds are going to contradict that in the chat in a minute or two, but yeah, staying in games is something I'm very keen on, especially when we get to Sunderland.
Yeah, I mean, just as a Leeds fan, and look, we'll move on to Leeds in just a second and stuff. But it was you kind of watched it and you thought, if West Ham are to even get to anywhere near that level, week in, week out, I think you think to yourself they could be out of there pretty quickly, especially if they back it up against Burnley.
Can I play devil's advocate? Should the keeper save the first one? And the own goal 5 minutes into first half stoppage time is a help that won't happen every week, Matt, will it?
No, and then the third goal as well is them picking Newcastle off while Newcastle are pushing for an equaliser right at the end as well. So in that regard, maybe the scoreline slightly flattered West Ham a bit more than it should have, but I thought they were worth the win anyway if it was by 1 goal or 2. So really good character though, like you say, Ben, because this team I've thought are very susceptible to crumbling after they've conceded 1 goal early on. Remember that Chelsea game earlier in the season when they conceded 5 at the London Stadium and you see the fans pouring out. So
and all the set plays, Matt. That's a key sign of no resilience when you concede in every blooming, when pressure is a corner and you're going to face several every game anyway, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, to Connor's point about maybe West Ham starting to pull away, they've got the Burnley game where if they win, they draw level on points. But then I look at the games after that where they got Bournemouth away, Liverpool at home. So we could see West Ham sort of do this and then do that again and then maybe start to rise again.
Yeah, Lions. Right, okay. Moving a little bit further up the table as well. Burnley were in action against Arsenal. And I don't want to do Burnley a disservice here, but it's another Arsenal victory to 0. And it's like another team barely creating any XG against them. I think they had 0.45. We have got to give Burnley their due diligence here. I thought Dubravka was good again. I mentioned this yesterday. I'm liking the midfield 3 of Ugachukwu, Cullen, and of course Florentino Luis. But a 2-0 against Arsenal, Matt, it just is what it is, isn't it? There's not really, what can you talk about, really?
That's it. It's copy and paste. Whenever any of our promoted teams play Arsenal, we say, what can you learn from playing Arsenal? Typical Arsenal, clean sheet, set piece goal, couple of headers. I thought Gyökeres was really good in this one. I'll obviously be singing his praises as a Coventry fan. But I thought Burnley did okay, to be fair, considering they were 2 down within 35 minutes to then keep it at 2-0. I know it was sort of damage limitations and they didn't necessarily.
There's a big game state side to that, isn't there, though, Matt, of Arsenal going, yep. Yeah. See you at the Emirates, yeah. All
and
done.
Then they did it the post right at the end with a free kick, to be fair.
Fair enough.
That'd have been a nice one to pull back. But no, I never would have seen Burnley scoring 2. Maybe they could have pulled 1 back. But look, the main thing is we came into this 3 games for Burnley, which was Wolves, Arsenal, West Ham. If you could have said to them 4 points, you're going to lose the Arsenal game, they'd have taken that. They've won the Wolves game. They've lost to Arsenal. If they can go to West Ham and get a point, things are looking all right.
Yeah, and you wouldn't put that, and that's probably the perfect thing to talk about when you're discussing Burnley, isn't it? It's the next game coming up, and look, I mean, just to touch on Arsenal, that's 3 goals conceded in 15 football matches.
Well, Burnley can't complain about that because that was them last season, not conceding any goals for about 6 months. And I just had a little look, Connor. The 2 games out of 10 Arsenal have dropped points in have been against Manchester City and Liverpool. Yeah. So even though people don't like it when we run the whole, it's Arsenal, they'll beat everyone, it is literally true. And if we sit here all season, and we'll find out actually because Sunderland play Arsenal next, if Sunderland lose both games to Arsenal, Burnley lose both games to Arsenal, and Leeds, and part of the other bottom three, it will be irrelevant. It genuinely is irrelevant because just everyone, well, unless someone gets relegated on goal difference, then it's not going to have any bearing. And I know we don't talk much about the title, but it'd be nice to have a bit of a change at the top, wouldn't it? And we have seen Arsenal have an amazing first half to a season, so I don't want to count my chickens, but you're right, Connor, that defensive side now looks like a title winner, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's what wins you titles, isn't it? It's building from the back. It's really important, of course. But what we'll do is we'll touch on the fixtures towards the end because we like to kind of like review the weekend, then go into next weekend a little bit as well because they are big for our promoted teams. Moving a little bit further up the table, then we will touch on Leeds United. Benjamin Bloom, take it away.
So, I mean, we normally spend this thing trying to get you to talk about Leeds when you don't want to.
Thank you.
What I'll do is do my normal thing of trying to figure out how Connor's feeling about this. And is there a bit of a sense for the first time this season, maybe even for all three of the promoted clubs, where you've been taken to school by a team from the middle of the table, which is quite hard to take and quite hard to process, isn't it? Because these are the games where you're kind of thinking as a promoted team, right, let's give this a go. Let's have a fight and we can be in this game. And unfortunately, how many years in a row have Brighton been in the Premier League receiving 100 million quid a year TV money, able to build a squad, and they do recruit brilliantly. And I'm afraid it's one of those where you go to Brighton and, I mean, you'll have watched the whole game, Connor. I haven't seen all 90 minutes, but it looked like Leeds were really well beaten and looked like they were quite a few levels below Brighton. And it almost, you tell me, Con, it almost becomes, how do we frame the defeat rather than going into the minutiae of the game? And can you accept, as a Leeds fan, on the one hand, scored 100 points last year, can you accept being well beaten by a team from the middle of the table? And then there's that bigger conversation of, when I was growing up, Leeds are 10 times bigger than Brighton, but now Brighton are light years ahead of Leeds because of the way the money's gone in the Premier League. So it's almost a framing thing. And I don't want to make the comparison we're talking about Burnley Arsenal because the gap's like that. But am I kind of getting towards how you're feeling about it, Connor? It's quite difficult to frame it after scoring 100 points and growing up, where presumably we could probably do quite a good comparison of Leeds winning the title in the early 90s. Brighton are probably in Division 4 somewhere. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird one to get your head around, isn't it? Am I anywhere near?
Yeah. It's I guess the last. I mean, I think it's 8 appearances now down at the Amex for Leeds. We've not scored a goal down there. It's Leeds of the only time we've ever scored down at Brighton was at the Withdean in 2012. Not ever, but in recent memory. It has been. It's probably the worst bogey ground for Leeds. I think most Leeds fans go into it thinking there's absolutely no chance here of us getting anything. I thought it was maybe a little bit naive tactically. I'll be brutally honest with you going into it. Listen, they're a much better team than we are, but to get points this year, lads, we have to make it difficult. You've got to make it difficult. You've got to play to your strengths. I don't feel we did that at the weekend, which was a little bit of a problem. I do concede that Brighton are a much better side than us. I do put the context in there that a few of them had played against Arsenal in midweek, and they did have 7 injuries as well. We went into it with a full bill of health, really. But it was quite, it was quite a hammer blow, I thought. I did think we'd lose, but I thought maybe we could have made it a little bit more difficult, and maybe the performance was a little bit more damning than the overall result. Matt?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Where does this fixture fit in the category of difficult games? Because we always say Arsenal, Man City, they're free hits. You don't learn much from losing those games if it's 4-0 or 2-0. Brighton away is not quite on that level, but when was the last time a newly promoted team went and won away at Brighton? It was the sort of game where I thought...
Ipswich Town got a heroic 0-0 draw there and faced about 75 shots last year.
So it is
For
possible. So it is
for,
possible.
for heroic, read jammy though. To be honest.
So
That
what,
is-
mate? So what?
That is the point I was going to come on to. The best I could have seen Leeds getting was a 0-0 or a 1-1. I remember Forest, when they first came up, they got a 0-0 at Brighton, and you just have to hang on in there, don't you? But the thing is, if Leeds went down there and didn't offer much going forwards, but you're in the game at 0-0 for quite a while, you'd be thinking, all right, you may be making the best of it. But once you concede after 10 minutes, what then? And, Danny Welbeck puts Brighton in front, and Leeds never really were in the game much. I know had a couple of half chances, but I thought they showed Brighton too much respect. They're a bit standoffish, actually. And at the same time, it is a tricky game. It is Brighton away, but I thought it was made quite easy by Leeds defending, especially for the third goal as well. So you chalk it off. It wasn't one of those 6 pointers you've lost. You've really got to try and make up for it by getting something at Forest, though, Connor.
Yeah, and we're still looking at recovering that Burnley loss as well. I think which is important. That is now Leeds are conceding goals, of which I felt we were quite tight earlier on in the season. I feel like we've moved away from maybe a style of football which I was more accustomed to because we've recruited in a certain way. Yeah, lads, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit worried about that leakage at the back at this moment in time. Away from home, it has to tighten up as well. Has to tighten up, and we have to start getting some points on the road. Ben, do you share that sentiment?
Can I dive in on that? So on this style thing, obviously, Leeds were a possession team, the 100-point team, made the most passes per game, had the most possession in the Championship. I accept that you then have to offset that a little bit when you go to the Premier League. And I also accept that we babble on all pre-season about physicality, and can a promoted team buy people at the back who are basically, I'm about to describe Virgil van Dijk, who are really good physically and really good on the ball? Probably not. So is that what you're suggesting, Connor? Not kick it in the channels and get rid of it, get it forward, but just a little bit of an acknowledgement that you're away from home at Brighton. Is that what you're saying with the style of play? You do accept that Leeds got to the party by playing through the thirds and playing out from the back?
Yeah, of course. I just think you've got to. I think there's got to be a period, and I think it's been outlined by plenty of managers. I think Kieran McKenna's mentioned it. I think you've had Thomas Frank mention it, that when you come up, there's got to be an adaptation. And if you're not pragmatic, and I'm not saying Daniel Farke hasn't been pragmatic at all, he has. We've gone from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3. I do feel it's quite a similar formation, but Leeds have recruited lads in a way of which is to be physical. It's to be a little bit more athletic. It's to basically compete and win those marginal gains in the Premier League. We're not technically good enough. We need window upon window upon window upon window to be able to get the right players in to then compete with what we've come up against. We brought 10, 11 players in, and those 10, 11 players are 26, 27 years of age on the whole. They're 6 foot plus. They're physical players, and no one is more symptomatic of that, symbolic of that than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But there is a problem right now between the midfield line and Dominic. He's completely isolated. We're not picking up the second balls. It's becoming a bit of a problem, I think. So it's got to tighten.
That's fair. That's more nuanced than just don't pass it around in your own.
You just got to pick your moments, haven't you, Ben? You got to pick your moments. No,
it's fair enough. I was kind of being a bit cantankerous with the question, but you answered it well. But do you kind of accept, and this is really galling, that in an away game against Brighton, if Brighton play well, they beat Leeds 9 times out of 10, whatever Leeds do. And I accept Matt's point that Leeds didn't play well and Brighton did play well. But even if both sides play well, Brighton win, don't they? Is that where we are with it this season, and something that just kind of needs to be accepted? Not accepted as in that, oh, well, okay, fine, throw the towel in against the teams in the middle, but that it will happen from time to time.
Yeah. Like you said, Ben, I mean, maybe we'd have got an Ipswich type result where we'd have gone there, we'd have got battered, but we'd have set up in a way which maybe filtered Brighton a little bit further back, and we put them under elements of pressure as well. We didn't do that enough. We were completely battered on all ends, and you've got to have moments in games. I feel you've got to have periods. We've spoken about this in the Premier League where teams in games, unless you're up against your Arsenals and your Man Cities and your Liverpools, it does swing. Momentum does swing in a football game. There was no momentum in that football game. We sort of maybe had a little bit of possession towards the back end of the half, but nothing really happened. So Leeds have got to do more, in my opinion. But okay, chaps, and then we will move on to, I think next up is Sunderland. Is that right? I think that's next up.
Have we gone past Nottingham Forest?
We've gone past Forest. We have. Sorry, Forest. In my head, apparently you're already out of it, even though you're on about 6 points.
Do you want to talk about that when we talk about the next fixtures, though, Matt? Because we've got Forest Leeds, haven't we?
Yeah, that works.
Just don't interrupt me again, Matt. So let's move on to the game last night.
I got it last week, Matt. You just have to suck it up, mate.
You're standing up for Forest.
Stop talking over. But yeah, it was I'm looking at it last night, and obviously, Leeds have done well against Everton. Got all 3 points. And I don't think Burnley have played Everton yet, have they? But Sunderland last night, I was just going into it and expecting either a win or a draw. I don't know. I just didn't expect Everton to get anything, and they started off really, really well, didn't they? I think they hit the post. Grealish hit the post. They obviously scored that brilliant goal through them and Jai as well. And it was a game of 2 halves, really, wasn't it?
Connor, there's a massive chance for Everton virtually from on the goal line as well. And this is my theme. Sorry to Bigfoot you there, mate, but this is my theme about staying in the game. Even being just a goal down at half time, and when you were speaking about Leeds a second ago, when you were saying, "Oh, there's going to be moments," and you just got to kind of stay in it. All I could think of was Sunderland in that first half against Everton, because they stay in the game, don't they? And I think Moyes said afterwards, at 30 minutes, if you told him he was going to get a point, he would have been disappointed. But at 90 minutes, he was kind of all right with it, because Sunderland came strong second half and stayed in the game at half time.
Yeah, they just look quick, Ben. I think, and I'll come back to you on this, mate, just on that game in particular, obviously the game last night. I think when they get into the flow, Sunderland, not only are they difficult to beat, but going forward, there's good rotations. There's an understanding. There's a cohesion between, different players in there. There's partnerships. And what I like about Regis Le Bris, he's not scared to change up the system, change up the side as well. It's not like, if he wins, he's not going to change it up the next week, which I think is really important in the Premier League. But yeah, they're just clocking up point after point after point. And Ben, that's 1 loss in 10, I believe.
Is it actually? Oh my God! It's quite easy to lose count with Sunderland, isn't it? Is that in all comps? They've lost 2 in the actual Premier League, but yeah, you might be right in terms of all comps. 1 loss in 10.
I'm trying to think who that second one was. Oh, it was Man United, wasn't it? So it was Man United and Burnley, wasn't it? Yeah. So they've lost 2, haven't they? In 10, I think.
In the last minute as well. I think as well, whenever you hear Le Bris speak and someone talks about team shape, he always corrects and says, "Oh, we have a in possession shape and an out of possession shape." And I don't know if that's something you'd hear Parker and Farker saying when we're making the direct comparison. And it is rinse repeat, Matt, because we've got to talk about Granit Xhaka as well, because it's proper captain's performance in goal as well.
Yeah, and I'll echo what you said there a minute ago, Ben, about Sunderland. Whenever there's an opportunity in a game, whenever there's 1 goal in a game, they get something out of it. Because in the first half, I thought Everton were really good, to give them their credit. And as Connor mentioned, it's a great goal from Njayi, and they could have gone 2-0 up and Sunderland stayed in it. And then it's timings of goals as well. They came straight back out and took the shot early there, Xhaka. I know it takes a massive deflection, but it's a reward for the way he's been playing recently. And then from there, it actually looked like Sunderland were going to be the team to go and win it. And I suppose I'll put the question to you two. Is it a handball? Because it feels a bit to me like the one Leeds got when they played Everton at home.
Yeah, I mean, if you if you're talking about that one, even the Leeds one with Tarkowski, where I felt it was closer to his body, I think Keane's arms were, if you're looking at that, were away from his body in an unnatural position. Just a massive problem, isn't there, with consistency now? I don't know what handball is anymore, Ben. I haven't got a clue anymore, to be honest with you.
No, I always try and consult my IFAB wordings and whatnot with stuff like this, but they don't particularly help in these situations. All I'll say for Sunderland, in terms of things running for them at the moment, I'm quite happy for it to continue how it's going, because like Matt says, when they've been in games, they've done well, they've come out on the right side of things. And I think if you said to the Sunderland fans, okay, you're not going to get a handball for that one, but all the other things that have kind of, been able to be leveraged, and that's not me calling Sunderland lucky. I think they would take it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I guess the only way, and with that question as well, Matt, the only way you could see it is Keane's kind of twisted, hasn't he, and made his body bigger with his arms. So therefore, if he's in an unnatural position, then that should be a penalty. I was quite surprised. I thought VAR was going to give it, to be honest, but maybe it was the fact that Siddiqui was very close to him when he left his foot. I don't know. You just kind of at this point where you just have no idea what the rules are. But yeah, another good result for them. Is that them on sort of 18 points now?
Yeah, that's a solid point as well, Connor, though, isn't it? When you put that point on top of the Chelsea win last week, it's just an incredible start, isn't it? And do we think 36 is enough this season? Because that's Sunderland halfway to 36. So it's incredible, isn't it? I suppose it's a bit like the start to last season in the Championship, where they just banked a load of points at the very start. And I know they didn't get top two, but they afforded themselves a real wobble and then still got into the playoffs. I know the Sunderland fans will say they sort of sacked it off and prioritised the playoffs, but they've got so much margin for error. They go into the Arsenal game knowing it's a free hit, but it's a Granit Xhaka derby, and Sunderland have not lost at the Stadium of Light. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of that. I think Michele as well has been nominated for Player of the Month, I believe, and he's going into the handbook of Chris Wilder circa 18-19, where he's having the overlapping centre backs. He's getting to the byline, trying to cross the ball into the box. I'm thinking, flipping out, what's going on here? But I guess, Ben, it's been with Sunderland overall. It's been this quite pleasant surprise factor, hasn't it? Which I don't think any of us would have expected, with them finishing 24 points behind Leeds and Burnley last season.
You say pleasant surprise, but you also said you kind of expected them to get something last night. So it's amazing how quickly the kind of, not necessarily the fear, but the expectation changes once a team does get some momentum, isn't it? And it's not very helpful for Leeds and Burnley, isn't it? Because you have a big conversation about it's really hard for Leeds to go and win at Burnley. It's impossible for Leeds to go and win at Brighton. It's impossible for Burnley to do anything against Arsenal. And then you see Sunderland in fourth in the table doing that. The Mr. Bean in the car, just sticking his middle fingers on it. That's Sunderland at the other two promoted clubs at the moment. But Matt says margin for error, and I love what Sunderland are doing. They will need it. There will be a sticky run, and we know what it's like, Connor, in the Premier League. This is not the Championship where you go again on Tuesday. You can have 6 weeks without winning a game or scoring any more than 2 points or something, and it's not fun. And you've got to expect it to happen at some point. Else, Sunderland will be in Europe, won't they? For God's sake. Yeah,
look, maybe a little bit of a touch on Everton as well. Struggling at the minute, aren't they? Matt, it feels like they started the season, aside from that Leeds game, obviously they really grew into it, but it feels at the minute that it really is Iliman Ndiaye FC. It feels like maybe a change of system would help them, but I mean, I guess when you're looking at Beto and Tieno Barry, who's not really hit the heights so far, they're struggling up top, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, I'm looking at the last couple results, Connor. I mean, they drew with West Ham. That was disappointing, but they beat Palace, and then they had Man City. That's tricky. The Spurs defeat was poor, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I think they've shown good reaction here, haven't they? Not many. I think most teams in the Premier League right now would take a point if you offer it to them at the Stadium of Light. Yeah. So Everton will be pleased with their first half performance and the result. And we've not really spoken about them being in relegation danger. It's just, where do you put them in the middle order? Are they going to be 14th? Because we've seen, as you say, the potential of when Njoy's on it and Jack Grealish as well. They could be a top half team for sure. So not too worried about them, to be honest.
And no, David Moyes is not going to change formation, man.
Just a 4-2-4.
Absolutely not.
Never. No danger at all, I don't think. Benjamin Bloom next weekend. Two big games. Listen, I don't want to. We don't want to delve into it too much, obviously, because that turns then into a preview show. But the two games in particular that we're going to have to talk about: Nottingham Forest versus Leeds United, and Giants versus Burnley. West Ham versus Burnley. Let's touch on Forest Leeds. Ben, do you want to kick us off?
Well, just I mean, you're a Leeds fan, so you won't feel this. So I'll maybe put it a bit more to Matt. But as an outsider, I bloody love this fixture because these are our kind of two giants from the the 70s and the very, very early 80s who won league titles, who kind of don't do that anymore. But if you have these beautiful storied histories, so I love the fixture to start off with. I have to say,
Ben, a Brian Clough derby, of course.
Oh, it doesn't get better than that, does it? Come on. I have to say, I'd prefer if it was at Ellen Road, Connor. I don't know if you feel that. I like the timing of it though, and we've spoken about that a lot. And I know you don't want to go down the predictions preview-y thing, but I feel the first goal wins this game, doesn't it? I think it's absolutely tight one, and the way that Dyche will do it. I wonder whether even the messaging from, given where Forest are in their league and the identity of the manager they've chosen to bring in, whether they could say, "No, this Europe thing, it's irrelevant if you get relegated, isn't it? The important game this week is Forest v Leeds."
Absolutely. That Sturm away game, I know it's Forest want to go as far as they can in the Europa League, but the Leeds game is so much bigger. It just is. They have to prioritise it, because if this goes the other way, if Leeds beat Forest at Forest and that gap then grows, because a lot of us are
8 points, Matt, would be.
Yeah. Oh gosh. But a lot of us are thinking, surely, Connor, you're thinking a draw's fine here. Hold the gap. Yeah. You're away from home. Because the way I look at it as well, Connor, is although I don't like it being at the City ground, because I just much prefer Leeds United at Ellen Road, at least the reverse later in the season when we know where things are going to be, you've got that in your pocket that it's at Ellen Road. If you can go here and take a draw, I think that'll do you. You're not sure?
Not sure. I think I'm maybe a little bit burnt and need some perspective from you two. This is why you're here. 3 losses in 4. I'm looking at Forest. I'm thinking bottom 3, but the context is Forest will not be in the bottom 3, in my opinion, obviously. Well, maybe not. Maybe some people do think they'll be in the bottom 3. I really don't know about this game, lads. I don't know what I want. Would I take a point? It feels like now the magnitude of a point would be big. It said Nottingham Forest are a very, very expensively put together side. Dyche
there you go.
Dyche is a very, whatever people might say about him, he's aggressive, he's intense at this, point at the table. He's very effective. We've seen that with Everton. We've seen that with Burnley. Maybe you would. I'm just thinking where do the next 3 come from? I think that's what's in my head right now, especially with the fixtures coming up. When you throw Man City in there, Chelsea, a couple of Liverpool lovely ones in there as well.
But Connor, would you accept the premise that because of the Thursday night game, because of Forest struggles, that we're not drawing a chasm between Leeds and Forest, and it's a good conversation to have? They could win the game. You're right about that. They could win the game, and I know when you do it on paper and you go through, particularly the 2 centre backs, and Gibbs, White, and Anderson's been really good. You can go down that horrible rabbit hole of on paper Leeds can't beat Forest anyway. Yeah. So what are we even talking about? But all the intangibles do work for Leeds, don't they? So I get why you're like, no, come on, win the game, make hay before the winter is cometh.
Are we must win in this one for either side?
Matt
has a must win every week, so I need to hear it, Matt.
I'm not going to say it. I think obviously Forest will want it more, being the home side. Not to say Leeds don't want it, Connor, but let's play out. This finishes 0-0, and I've just walked in the stadium as the full-time whistle goes. I think the Leeds United fans will be cheering that result a lot more than the Forest fans will. I know the point you make, Connor, about Leeds' next couple of games, because you got Villa and Man City, and you probably think, but then Forest will start to gain on us. Forest have Liverpool away, and then they have Malmo, and then they have Brighton. So there's no guarantees that Forest will start marching up. I know we didn't actually touch on their performance against Man United. It was much improved, actually, and undone by, especially for the first goal, by some dodgy decision. But I don't think a draw's a bad result right now. I suppose we don't know the full context. We could look back on this in May and be like, oh, Leeds had to win this game. But right now, I just think being ahead of them, a draw keeps the gap.
How many away wins do you think a newly promoted side needs throughout a Premier League season, Ben, to realistically stay up and hit that magic mark if your home form is very decent?
There's a very facetious answer to that you don't want to hear, which is 0. If you're decent at home, you can stink the place out away from home. And I mean, we always go down that road of, be hard to beat away from home and win your home games. But yeah, to your point, Connor, obviously you've got to go somewhere and beat somebody at some point. And weirdly, if I'm allowed to invoke my Ipswich clause for once in the show, Ipswich were actually, they really struggled to cope with being at home in the Premier League and whatever was in their heads. And actually, they won at Bournemouth, they won at Spurs, probably better away from. I'm probably forgetting other results in there, and had some decent away performances. So it can flip around. Although we have seen, particularly Sunderland, the Leeds have been good at home as well. I suppose Burnley had the wins against Leeds and Sunderland themselves, didn't they? So
draw against Forest as well.
Yeah, right. But you probably do still need to be winning. If you can win, what do you reckon? 70-30 split, 7 home games, 3 away games.
Yeah, I think
something like that would work, wouldn't it?
I've always kind of looked at about 3. I think you've got to pick up 3 on the road.
Sorry, ding, Connor. Coventry City, 1999-2000, when we were in the Premier League, we went a whole season without winning a single away game, but we won 13 out of 19 at Highfield Road and finished like 15th or something. So that's probably the exception and not the rule, but it can be done. I know you've already won one, actually, because you've won at Wolves. I suppose you're looking then at which away games can you win. So I get your point. You target Forest because you've already played Burnley, and then after Forest, you're probably looking at Sunderland.
And you had like you said, you had Burnley in there as well, didn't you?
So I think, well, yeah.
It's a good time to mention Ipswich won at Coventry in 99-2000 with a Fabian Wilness diving header. We were so good then. My God.
Would that not have been 2000-2001, Ben?
Nah, we got relegated that season. Oh, no, 2000. No, sorry, you're right. Yeah, 2000-2001. No, he's right. Carry on.
God.
But I think, I quite like the split of 7 and 3. I think 8 and 2 could work as well. 8 home wins, 2 away draws. But it does put the pressure on Leeds at Ellen Road, to be fair. Yeah.
It does, yeah.
Nottingham Forest beat Malmo in one of their European Cup finals as well. That's been buzzing around my
I think they
ridiculous
did. Yeah, I think they did.
Matt said the fixture. It's not relevant to anything you've just mentioned.
Nothing, but we have these little tangents for you. We have these spaces for you on the podcast.
It's kind of always at the same point in the show when it kicks in.
It's when you know he's
a butterfly.
That's when you know
we lost him.
That's when you know he's phasing out. So that listen, and we've not touched on Forest a little bit. Got to be a little bit of kudos there. I think they deserved to beat Man United the other day. I think they were very aggressive, very good. And Ben, City ground's going to be massive for them, isn't it? And it feels under Dyche, she's going to make it a little bit of a fortress.
And what did you make of that ridiculous decision that Man United got on the set play I know we have to have
Casemiro nodded it in. Yeah,
of course he nodded it in. And all the Forest fans behind the goal knew he was going to nod it in as well.
They just started getting up, didn't they?
They were writing their strongly worded letters straight away. Yeah. I never like to be one that moans about VAR or referees or things of that nature, but I think when it's objective, ball in, out, and then a goal. So it's 2 kicks later, isn't it? The corner and the header. I don't know.
I think it makes it even worse when you see like one of the big 6 getting it and profiting from it. It makes you even angrier.
Relevant, but it does make it worse, doesn't it? Yeah,
yeah, it does. So moving on then to another big game this weekend as well. West Ham, Burnley. Do you know what, fellas? I've no idea how this one goes. I don't think West Ham are going to be of the level of West Ham against Newcastle. I think it'll be a natural dip. Burnley, I feel in these types of games are going to be really, really difficult to beat. Maybe it just stinks of a draw already. I mean, Matt, what are you looking at with this one?
I think it'd be tight. If we were doing this last week, I'd be saying I don't think Burnley will mind it being at the London Stadium, but we saw a different side to it last week, to be fair. But the thing I'm holding on to for Burnley here is against all the other teams down there. I know Sunderland are not down there, but you've got Sunderland and then Leeds and Wolves and Forest. All the other teams, they've got something from those games. So I think Burnley will be in this. It's once again, the onus is on West Ham to go and get the win with the home advantage and with them being further down in the table. Once again, I think Burnley will take a draw. I think it could be a draw, to be honest. West Ham will go for it. I just think Scott Parker's Burnley will just hang on in there. Can they get a 0-0 or a 1-1?
Yeah, former club as well for Scotty Parker. Ben, how are you looking at this one? Is it sort of another sort of dry game for you, or do you think there could be? Do you think one will nick it, or?
Well, I'm quite positive because you can make the apples and oranges comparison with the Newcastle game and with this one, because this doesn't feel like a game where West Ham can go, oh, look, we're an underdog. We're playing against a side who's going to circulate the ball. That, you've mentioned, Connor, that Nuno is good at playing off teams, isn't he? Right, what are they going to do? I'll exploit it. Whereas Burnley will probably quite happily go, we'll make it difficult for you. We'll try and nick a goal. And, that doesn't lend itself to a, rambunctious London stadium and a excellent underdog win that West Ham kind of got against Newcastle. So I'm hopeful that we can park the Newcastle thing as a kind of false equivalence. But yeah, West Ham will be, they'll be, to Matt's point, they'll be far more confident than they would have been, had the game been a week ago. So I think anything that Burnley can get is a good result here, and I'll play Matt's line of then decide it in the home game where Burnley have been good.
Lovely stuff. Nearly an hour on the clock. This has been 3 at the Back, everybody. I hope you fully enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for stopping on by. Check out Matt's channel. Link in the description below and in the title. We can do this collaboration thing now. It's very nice. Ben as well in the title and link in the description below, everybody. Make sure you are checking out both of their channels, which I'm sure you are doing already. My name's Conor McGilligan. This is my channel, and I will see you on the other side. Cheers.